Hey guys, welcome. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to process your emotions in a healthy way so that they're not running your life, so that you can actually master and control your own emotions so that you can actually be in charge of your own life and you're not being pulled by these negative emotions because you don't know how to deal with them properly. I'm going to show you a technique that's going to help you to deal with uncomfortable emotions such as anger, fear, craving, boredom, jealousy, tiredness, restlessness, laziness, confusion, fogginess. These are all emotions that every single human being experiences all the time. If you live a long 80-year life, you're going to experience all of these emotions hundreds, if not thousands of times. Yet we were never really taught what to actually do when these emotions appear in our experience. What do we actually do when we feel angry or bored or sadness? We were never really taught healthy ways to cope with these emotions. So what we've done is we've tried our best to figure out what to do, and we've developed a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms. So many people, when we experience sadness, a lot of women do this. What we do is we go right to the freezer and start to eat an entire tub of ice cream, because that is the only coping mechanism that we have to deal with the emotion of sadness. Because all I know is that I feel sad, I don't like this feeling. Ice cream makes me feel good. It helps me kind of cover it up. So if you use this coping mechanism for the rest of your life, you're going to be overweight. You're going to have an unhealthy body. Same with anger. Many men don't know how to deal with their anger. So in order to escape this uncomfortable feeling of being angry, what many men do is just blow up. Just start yelling and screaming and hitting things. And that causes a lot of pain in your relationships. You can hurt yourself and also other people. So if you don't know how to process your emotions properly, you're not going to be able to live an effective life. And you're going to suffer a lot. So in my personal life, I was never taught what to actually do when I feel bored or when I feel afraid or restless. So what I would do is I would just play tons of video games that would help me with my boredom. I would watch a lot of porn, especially when I felt sad or when I felt unloved. I would just go watch a lot of porn because that would give me some kind of sense of connection. I would smoke a lot of weed as well. So normally what we do is we try to avoid or suppress the emotion, especially if it's an uncomfortable emotion. It's only natural for human beings to want to avoid uncomfortable feelings. When you feel jealousy or when you feel foggy and tired, like maybe you just ate an entire pepperoni pizza, you ate the whole pizza, now it's in your stomach, you're probably going to feel foggy, tired, and we don't like that feeling. It's a kind of a crappy feeling. So normally what we do is we try and avoid it. So naturally maybe I'll just sit on the couch and watch TV or scroll on my phone to distract myself from this uncomfortable feeling of fogginess. So in order to avoid our emotions, there's normally two things that human beings do. Firstly, what we do is we repress, suppress, and distract. Whenever we feel anger or sadness, what we will do firstly is either repress it, suppress it, or distract ourselves from it. Avoid it. We don't want to face it. Dig it under the rug. And where we actually hide it is usually in our body. So whenever an uncomfortable emotion arises, what we do is we close ourselves off to that emotion by tightening our body. Could be our heart, could be our stomach, could be our back, our shoulders, could be tensing our jaw or our eyebrows. But normally we close ourselves off to this emotion, and this happens unconsciously. You don't even know that you're doing this. You've been doing this since you were a child, since you were 2 or 3 years old. This is the natural coping mechanism. Since we were never taught meditation from a young age, what we do by default is avoid and suppress uncomfortable feelings, and this is almost always held as tension in the body. Now, this causes a big problem for you long term in your life. This could cause back pain, unnecessary stress. When I see people walking down the street, and I've been doing a lot of consciousness work, you can kind of tell a lot about a person just by the way that they hold their body. Just by the way that they walk down the street. Many people you'll see are very tense and tight, and they walk very in rigid, robotic ways. Or when you give somebody a hug, you can feel their tension and closedness. And the main reason why people are tense and closed is because they're not using this technique that I'm going to show you to process their emotions in a healthy way. So all those emotions are pent up in their chakras, right, which are basically just energy centers that hold a lot of trauma, that hold a lot of emotions, basically are held in these chakras, and they can build up. And when negative emotions like guilt, shame, fear, self-judgment, grief, sadness, when these kinds of things build up in your body and they aren't processed and cleaned out and purified, then what happens is they start to manifest in dysfunctional ways in your life. So if you have a lot of self-judgment and you're very self-critical, and you don't process that using the technique that I'm about to show you, then what's going to happen is that self-criticism is going to manifest itself at work, in your job, when you go on a date and talk to friends, or when you talk to your husband or your wife, when you talk to your kids, when you go to give a presentation for work. All of that's going to manifest in unhealthy ways because you're not processing it. Same is true for guilt, anger, sadness, etc. So the first thing we do is we hold negative emotions in our body as tension, and we turn away from them. We don't want to look at them. We turn a blind eye to them. Because a lot of times they're scary to face. Now, the second way that we avoid our emotions is by acting them out, by kind of wallowing in them, stewing in them, or giving into them. So I think it's important for human beings to express how they're feeling. However, in the past, I've fallen into the trap of thinking that by feeding into the emotion, that is expressing the emotion. So when I would be talking to my girlfriend, for example, and she would frustrate me a lot because of something she's saying or she's disagreeing with me, I'd get very frustrated, and I know that it's healthy for me to express how I'm feeling, but I would express how I'm feeling by blowing up or by giving into the anger and yelling and throwing a tantrum or swearing, and that is actually a form of avoidance. It took me a long time to realize that blowing up and actually acting out the emotion in many cases is you just trying to avoid the emotion. For example, you have a craving for chocolate cake, and this craving has been bothering you for the whole day. Since lunchtime, you saw somebody eat a chocolate cake and it looked so tasty, and now for the rest of the day, in the back of your mind, there's this craving for chocolate cake. And this craving, it's a physiological thing. You actually feel it. It could be in your stomach, could be in your mouth. You actually feel there's something uncomfortable there that you know will go away if you feed it chocolate cake. So acting out that craving and actually going to buy yourself chocolate cake and eating it, there's nothing bad or wrong about that, but just notice that is actually a form of avoidance. We don't like this craving. We don't know how to process this craving, and the only way we know how to get rid of it is to feed it. Whatever, it could be video games, could be sex, could be food. Same is true with sadness. You know, when you feel sad and you don't know what to do with that sadness, so you kind of feed into it and you become depressed and you hold your head down all day. You start dressing emo and, wearing eyeliner and just being a depressed person because you're feeding it. So the two ways that we avoid our emotions is by suppressing it, denying it, and locking it as tension in our body. Or number two, the second way is by acting it out, blowing up and feeding into it. Those are two patterns of avoidance. Both those ways don't work. They don't lead to a healthy life, basically. So how do we process emotions in a healthy way? We're going to be using the transcend and embrace method. This is far and away the best method to process emotions. All emotional processing techniques that you'll find on the internet or in books, this is the essence of what they're talking about. There is no technique that doesn't involve transcending and embracing, and that doesn't involve these three steps in some way. So this is like a meta practice, right? When I say this is the best practice, this is really the deep principles, the essence of how to process emotions. So transcend and embrace, what does that really mean? So first, step one, in order to process emotions, we need to locate it. I was going to say identify it, but I think locate it is good. So where is the emotion? If you're feeling boredom, let's say, I just feel so bored right now. Okay, where is it? You have to identify it first. Because normally we feel emotions, but we don't even know that we're feeling emotions. Our whole lives are being pulled by our emotions. Everything we do during the day is being dictated by our emotions, but most of the time this is completely unconscious. We're not even aware that we're being pulled around like a puppet or like a dog on a leash. We're being pulled by our emotions, but we're not even aware. So step one is to have some awareness of what are you feeling right now. Now, you can't process emotions in the past, how I was feeling yesterday. You can't process emotions in the future, how I'm going to feel. You can only process what is actually appearing right now. And notice the way emotions appear is usually as some kind of feeling in your body. And often this feeling in your body could be accompanied by a thought or a story. So for example, boredom for me, it feels like this kind of restlessness. For me, it's kind of like in my spine, like in my back and also on my sides of my body over here. And the mind, I feel like, is very restless and it's very quick. And there's this kind of forward circling energy pattern. It's like a forward circle where the mind is like looking for the next thing to do. And that's the physiological sensation of boredom. So when I ask you to locate the emotion, you have to actually be aware, okay, what's going on right now? So if you're angry, okay, step one is realize that you're angry. And it's actually good to label it. So all of these labels, many people don't even know the difference between fear and anger. What's the difference between restlessness and craving? For many people, this is just kind of like a big soup. So learning how to identify your emotions and also label them and differentiate what's the difference between sadness and depression, or what's the difference between anger and annoyance, what's the difference between confusion and doubt, or fogginess or tiredness. So there's very subtle differences, and using mindfulness of the present moment, it's good. It's going to help you become aware of your emotions and all the different ways that they can manifest in all the different flavors of emotions. So meditation practice helps a lot with this. When I sit down to practice meditation, all kinds of emotions come up. It could be subtle forms of avoidance, fear, boredom, confusion. Everything comes up, and the first thing you do when you're meditating is you just notice what is happening. So I'll label it confused, or I'll label it restless, or angry, annoyed. So labeling how you're feeling right now is going to help you a lot. Okay? So after you locate it, now the second step is to witness it. Okay, so I've become aware that I'm feeling a certain way. I'm feeling angry. Okay, so now that I've located the angry feeling, now I'm going to witness it. So the angry feeling might be like tension in my chest. Anger sometimes has a very hot quality as well, where it's very hot. It could be in your throat. Depends, it's different for everyone. That's why you need to figure out in your experience, what is anger? Now, once you locate it, now you're going to just detach from it. So this is the transcend part of transcend and embrace. So first, before you can embrace the emotion, first you need to realize this emotion is not you. When you feel angry, that anger is not you. You can witness the anger. A great way to visualize this is like, okay, so I'm feeling anger, but I am not the anger. I'm the blank screen upon which the anger is appearing. I am empty awareness. This anger is not me. It's just like a frame in the movie. It's just like a drawing on the canvas. But I'm not the drawing. I'm the blank canvas itself. So a great way to transcend anything, any emotion or thought, is just to witness it. Look at it. Because notice, whenever you're looking at something, it's not you. So what normally happens is, let's say we have some anger here. This is our angry feeling, okay? Normally what happens is we get sucked into it, and there's no space. Now we actually become angry. I am angry, right? So when you feel I am angry, there's no space between you and the anger. So step 2 is creating some space by looking at your anger. Not being sucked into it, but witnessing it. So taking a step back and actually, this is an eyeball here. Actually looking at the anger. Because notice, whenever you're looking at something, it's not you by definition. Whenever you're looking at something, it's not you by definition. That's why meditation is so powerful. That's why witnessing is so powerful. Because when we take 30 minutes a day to meditate, we are looking at our experience, not getting sucked into it and identifying with it, but we're always, whenever anything appears in our experience, we're looking at it, witnessing it, taking a step back from it. So your true nature is not anger or is not a story or an idea. Your true nature is the empty witness. You can always take a step back from any story like, oh, I'm Adam, I'm 22 years old, I live in Canada, I have brown hair. That whole story, you can always take a step back from it and look at it. And when I'm looking at that story, it's like, oh, I'm Adam, I'm 22 years old. Okay, I'm not that story. I'm the thing that is aware of that story. I'm the empty awareness. And that empty awareness cannot be harmed by any form. Because the empty awareness is always like in the background. It doesn't matter what you draw on the whiteboard. You could draw anything. Behind everything that you draw, that whiteness is still there. It's like when you go to a movie theater and the projector is projecting a movie onto the screen, Batman. When Batman is fighting the Joker on the movie screen, he could do any kind of punch he wants to. The Joker could light the whole building on fire, but at the end of the day, that is not affecting the actual screen. All forms and phenomena are just like light that's being projected onto the screen of your awareness. Whatever form is projected onto the screen, that doesn't affect you. It's just flickering light. It changes and moves. The problem is when you forget that you're the screen. You identify with the movie. Now you're actually a character in the movie. And the characters in the movie suffer, they can die, they can feel afraid, angry. They're actually involved in the movie. And that causes a lot of suffering, a lot of problems. They've forgotten, the character has forgotten that they're just some flickering light that's being projected onto an empty screen. And that's exactly what you are. You are literally just a flux of sensations that is accompanied by some story, and the whole thing is happening in the empty screen of awareness. Therefore, you cannot be harmed by any type of form or flickering that's happening on the empty screen, because you always have the power to transcend and to witness whatever is in your experience. And whenever you can witness an emotion or any experience, you are liberated from it. Okay? So step 2 is to witness it. And the way we do that is through meditation, right? Also just looking at it, self-reflecting. Okay? And step 3, after we witness it, after we realize that we are the empty screen, not the characters on the screen, but we're just the screen itself, step 3 is to embrace it. Embrace it. So we have gone beyond the illusion. We have transcended the illusion that this emotion is me, that I am, that this emotion is important somehow. When you locate it, you realize it's literally just a feeling in your body. When you witness it, you realize that this feeling is constantly in flux. It's changing and morphing. The anger that you felt initially, it's very hot, but after you witness it, it might change. It might disappear. Or it might move and morph into something else. If you can feel anger fully, with full awareness, it might not be uncomfortable anymore. It might actually turn into pleasure. Any experience, even pain, if pain is experienced with full awareness and is actually embraced, that pain can actually turn into pleasure. Right? Like in many sexual fetishes, many people, if you're having sex, many people get turned on when they get spanked or pinched or bitten. The reason why is because it's just energy. It depends on the context. If you're embracing somebody spanking your ass or whatever, and you like it, it turns into pleasure. But in a different context, like when you're a child and your mom is spanking you, it's pain because you're resisting it. You don't like it. Okay? So what we're going to do in step 3 is to embrace whatever we're feeling. So we're witnessing it. Now it's time to actually love it. To allow it to be there. Not trying to witness it so that it goes away. Not because many people get stuck at this step 2 witnessing, where we're trying to transcend the emotion so that it could hurry up and go away because we don't want to experience it. That can be another form of avoidance, where we're just detaching from everything. When you are truly witnessing, when you are truly being the empty screen, notice the empty screen doesn't reject any light that is projected onto it. It just embraces it fully and allows it to be there. The screen isn't trying to get rid of certain characters or certain colors. The screen itself just allows any character, any color to appear on it, even if it's an evil character who's setting the whole world on fire. The screen embraces and loves that equally. So when we embrace our emotions, the way we do that is just basically to stop resisting it. Just let it be there, let it do its thing, and just be curious. Notice what it's doing. It's moving, it's in flux. Now notice when we locate the emotion, witness it, and embrace it, now this emotion is not us anymore, and it's not being held onto as tension in our body, because remember guys, whatever you resist will persist. So if you feel anger and you resist the anger, what happens is it's going to build up. It won't be let go. It's going to be held as tension in your body. Anything that is resisted in reality will actually push back. So Newton's first law is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So when you're pushing anger away, you're pushing sadness away from you, the sadness and the anger is actually going to push back. But if you just allow it to appear, it will disappear extremely quickly. Just as quickly as it arose. This is how you actually gain freedom in your life from all emotions. This is how you gain emotional mastery, which is probably one of the most valuable things you can do in this human lifetime. If you can master your emotions, think about it, you could really do anything. You could go on stage and speak to 1 million people, right? So some practical examples of this would be, if you're afraid of public speaking, ask yourself, where is the fear? Where is it in my body? Okay, I'm just going to witness that. Remember, oh, that's not me. I'm the screen. I'm the witness that's allowing this fear to arise. It's okay, fear. I love you and embrace you. I'll let you be here. And you can even breathe into it. If you ever get afraid before speaking in front of people, notice that fear, if you accept it and embrace it, don't resist it, it actually turns into excitement. Now I'm excited to talk to all these people. I'm not afraid anymore because I'm not resisting the fear. I embraced it. When you're arguing with a loved one and you feel very angry, you can feel, where is that anger? Embrace it. And that will actually soften the whole interaction. If your partner's very angry, but you're not angry with him or with her, you're calm and the whole time, their anger will move through you. But when you resist their anger by pushing back with your own anger, now it'll just keep growing and growing and growing. But if you just accept it and let it move through you, it'll dissipate very quickly. Other feelings you can own, or if you eat a whole pizza and you feel foggy and tired after eating it, instead of distracting yourself by going on your phone or smoking weed or watching porn to avoid this pain in your stomach, actually sit with the pain and feel it. And when you lean into it and you soften around it, it will liberate itself. It'll actually change into something else that's not pain anymore. So one of the keys to embracing, step 3, what one of my meditation teacher always says, is that you want to soften around it. Almost like a mother holding their newborn baby. You want to treat this emotion with the most kind compassion that you can muster. Without any judgment, without any pushing away, just pure love and acceptance, like a mother holding their baby. All right, even if you have a craving for sex, let's say, normally what we want to do is we want to either repress it and deny it, or we want to express it so that we can release it, right? Instead, why don't you just feel that craving? Feel it fully. And when you feel into it, you witness it and you embrace it, you allow it to be there. In many cases, it will just change into something else and it'll move through you and disappear. All right, guys, I think that was all I had to say today. I feel like there is one more thing that I wanted to say, but yeah. So that's all what I have to say today. This is the technique to process your emotions, transcend and embrace. All right. Step 1, locate it. Step 2, witness it. Step 3, embrace it.